Hello children, this is your teacher Azhar Khurshid, and today we are taking up planning, the first function of management. What is planning? Planning is actually deciding in advance what to do, how to do, when is it to be done, and by whom it is to be done. Precisely, we are saying that it bridges the gap between where we are standing and where we want to go. This means that we have to actually set up the objectives for a particular period of time and then lay down the alternative courses of action by scanning the environment, knowing from the past experiences, then selecting one best alternative course of action out of all the choices and go ahead with it. In our daily life, there are many examples of planning. Planning for a picnic, planning for a breakfast, planning for the dinner, planning to come to school, planning for the examinations, and on a bigger magnitude you may say that there are planning examples like economic reconstruction plan, a 5-year plan for the country. These all are plans. But why at all do we go for planning? Why do we need a plan? Dear children, it's very true that we are living where in the present we are living, it's known to us, but for the future it's uncertain. Uncertain in the sense that you don't know what will happen next. You have to actually do all the work in the future, but you don't know what will happen, what will be the circumstances, whether you will be going on with your things or not. So you actually have to peep into the future, make certain assumptions. This may happen, this happened last time, it may again happen, or something that has not happened. You can imagine that also. So keeping all this in mind, you are laying up a plan. So it means that very necessarily it needs a high intellectual power. This means that you should be a good thinker. You should have a good experience at the same time. You should just peep into the future very rightly. You should strike the right point. So, planning, when it comes to features of planning, we can discuss at certain points. Number one, that planning focuses on achieving objectives. Now see, when you don't have any objective, there is no need of plan. You don't need to plan. When you have an objective, only then you will go ahead with the plan to achieve that objective. Say for example, a company is right now making 80 washing machines per month, but it's not required. It has to actually go for 1500 washing machines per month. So there has to be done something. You have to go for a plan. You have to set it right. This is where you have an objective, you'll go ahead with it. Then again, you will come to the second point of the features of planning, that is planning becomes the primary function. It's the primary function of management. Primary means the very basis of management. Children, you have already seen that when we are discussing management, we say that there are 5 functions. Number 1, planning. Number 2, organizing, staffing, directing, controlling. Now these all will come into effect when there is planning. So planning becomes the kickstart for every function to come. Say, or in controlling function, we have actually the actual things in our hands. But without standards preset in the planning function, we cannot compare those actuals with the standards and we cannot know about the deviations. So you need to have first certain standards set at the planning function, then only you can see whether we have deviated or is it all right, we have actually made a tally, or is there something to be done about it. It can be only done when you know the standards and you know the actual and then you compare. So every other function will come after planning. So planning happens to the basis of all managerial functions. The third point, planning is pervasive. Pervasive means that prevalent everywhere. We cannot restrict thinking processes at the top level of management only. You see the triangle here, the top, the middle, the lower, the operational level. Planning is to be done, no doubt, at the top level only. But to translate these plans into actions Every manager at every level, say for middle, lower, needs to translate these plans into actions with the plan. This means that every time he has to plan how to translate. How to translate means he has to actually implement that, and implementation again needs planning. So this means that planning is pervasive at every level. Coming on to the next point, planning is continuous. What is planning is continuous? It is that it has to go on. You cannot think of stopping planning at any time, because take an example, we have planned for something in the future naturally, but the period we have planned this is a boom in the economy. Now when you are implementing this thing in the future, there is a depression in the economy. This means that your plan will not work unless you have to change it. So this means that you need to change continuously. You have to be there on your toes to see whether it works or not. You cannot be having a plan in your hand and that will guarantee a success. No, that cannot be done. So it has to go on. The fifth point, it says planning is futuristic. Very true, it's futuristic. Have you ever planned for past? No, we cannot plan for our past. It's futuristic because we are peeping into future. We are doing something for the future. Future is uncertain. But can you do it with the help of past? No, you have to take examples from the past. You have to take your experience in your mind from the past. Then only you can go ahead. It is, of course, but futuristic. Next is planning involves decision making. Now see, if you have only one thing there is no choice and you will go ahead with it, you don't need planning at all. You don't need it. But if there are various courses of action that you can go ahead with, and then you need to select the best out of them, this means that you have to be decisive enough. It has to be a decision. So it involves that decision making. People come with different, arguments, with different ways of thinking, and they join heads together and they come out with a plan. This means that the finest plan will be accepted. This means it involves decision making. Now, dear children, this was all about features of planning. Coming on to the next small topic, that is the importance of planning. As we have seen already, that it's very, very important to plan. It's very important to plan. First of all, we'll see how it is very important to plan in those steps which are given here. Number one, that it provides you a direction. Direction is needed. Say for example, there is a unit of workers, they all are waiting when we'll be getting a direction as to start, how to start. Who will start? When are we going to start? This all will be answered with the right type of plan. That means it provides us a direction and it reduces the risk of uncertainty. Uncertainty, which is related to future. Uncertain. The future is always uncertain. Even if we have a plan, it's still uncertain. But it can minimize the risks associated with the future. It can minimize them because you have a plan. Maybe you have a plan A, then if it does not work, it can go for B, then C. These alternative plans can help you to come out of that risk situation that you are likely to fall in the future. You're just presuming. It's not necessary, but you are keeping yourself safe. This means planning reduces the risk of uncertainty. Planning ensures clarity of thoughts. Clear. When are we going to do a particular thing? It should not get repeated, because repetition means waste of time and efforts and money. So what we are doing is that we are taking care that nothing gets repeated unnecessarily. Your plan is clear and everything there is well stated: when, by whom, how. So it's clear. Nobody will be doing it again unnecessarily. So repetition of wasteful actions will be stopped somewhere. So this will again benefit the organization. Planning promotes innovative ideas. Innovative ideas means that every time you get together, you decide on a particular thing. There are certain faults in one of action plans and you remove that. There are certain good things in other, you keep them. That means every time these ideas will come, and out of nothing, out of nowhere, something will come which is quite new. This means innovative. Some innovations will come up. It facilitates innovation. Planning establishes standards for controlling. As I said already, that controlling is the last function, and in controlling only you will see whether you met those standards or not, which have been already given there in the plan, or are there any deviations. This means it establishes those standards for controlling to come. Controlling and planning are complementary to each other. Why? Because planning facilitates controlling later, standards in the controlling, and controlling in the next plan facilitates planning. So this means that planning and controlling somewhere are related. They go, the one ends up, the another starts up. Yet another topic in this particular chapter, planning, is the process of planning. What is the process? Process means that it has to go in a series of steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. So we need to discuss what is the process, what is the first step, the second step of this particular process of planning. Let's start right away. Number 1, that you have to develop the objective of the plan. What is the objective of the plan? Objective means that you have to have something in your mind that you are planning for. So it's actually those small ways that will lead you to the final goal. Now, very importantly, it's very important that everybody in the organization, be it at the top, middle, lower level, should know what is the final goal and what are the little ways, the objectives to reach there. So objectives should be clearly stated, whether they are the increase in sales, whether they are more profits, whatever. So these objectives should be very, very clearly stated. Number 2, developing the premises. What is premises? Premises means that, say for example, now I am making a plan for the future. Now I am making for the future. That means future is uncertain. I have to peep into it. I have to assume certain things. Premises are actually the assumptions, the anticipations, to see, to forecast what may eventually happen. It's not happened, it may happen. We of course do it in the light of the past. In the light of the past, there are certain things that we come to know, okay, this may happen, this also may happen. So we will develop those premises, those things which may happen in the future and which may come there to in the way of our objectives. So we are developing premises at the same time. Now coming on to the third step, listing all the alternative courses of action. What are the alternative courses of action means that for obtaining those objectives, we have certain ways of doing that. We can have A, B, C. It's not that there is only one way of doing that. A, B, C, D, different ways, alternative courses of action. Now, you have to list them actually. It should be very clearly written, stated that what are the different ways. A, this. Say for example, increasing sales. We can offer a discount. This may be one alternative course of action. We can have aggressive advertisements. This can be another. We can have door-to-door selling also. This can be another. So there are many other alternative courses of action, A, B, C, D, for one particular objective to obtain. So we have to actually list them. We should clearly know what are the different ways. Then after listing, we have to, step 4, evaluate these. What is evaluation when it comes to alternative courses of action? Evaluation means that we have to weigh them. We have to see what are the negatives, the positives of each and every alternative course of action, whether it is suited to us or not. If it's not suited, by way of profitability, by way of many other suitability, we can just discard or we can retain. So first, before we discard or retain, we have to evaluate them. So we'll evaluate each course of action, then again see whether we can go with it or not. After seeing that, we will select some or one whatever, keeping in view the pros and cons, the positives and negatives, and while we select some on the basis of profitability, on the basis of suitability, this is known as the derivative plan. A derivative plan is one where we have actually weighed everything. We have seen the positives and negatives and then come up to a particular plan. Now this plan is something that needs to be again stated to each and every level of the organization. Everyone who is working, whether top level, middle level, lower level, any level, anywhere, he should know what we are actually going through, following. Right? So this will be the final plan. It should be clearly stated. But now we have to implement it. Implement means that actual course of action. People actually doing what we have planned. Now, the last and the final step being the follow-up. You will say that why follow-up? Implementing plan is all that we have to do. Again, we are stressing on the thing that seeing to it that we are doing the plan. We are doing what we have planned. It's not that we have planned. No, we are doing and seeing to it that we are doing it actually as per the plan. So that is how it will work. Otherwise, it will not work. Use of time, money, every other effort will be going waste unless and until we'll see to it. We'll see whether it follows the way we have planned it. So follow up being the last step in the process of planning. Now children, after having discussed the process of planning, let's see whether planning is always that very right. Should we go for it always? Yes, we have to go for it always. Planning has to be there. Plans are there. But is that all accurate and correct? No, let's see what are the limitations of planning. We again will be discussing it in certain points. Number one, it said that planning leads to rigidity. Rigidity means that it becomes a framework in which you have to actually do your work. A framework. You don't have to cross that line because the plan is already made and you remember how much cost it has taken, how much time it has taken to make a particular plan. So you are following it like anything. You yourself cannot do anything because you are following the plan which is already there. So it becomes rigid. Unless and until the plan is flexible enough to give enough room to many other things in it, so that the future uncertainties are also incorporated in it, but at times it's not possible. It makes you rigid. Plans are rigid. Number one. Number two, planning does not work in a dynamic environment. What is dynamic environment? What makes it that dynamic? Please understand, your business environment has many other components revolving around it. Number one, the economic environment, the social, the political, the legal, the government policies and all which will come in political, legal also. This means that this is a complex woven thread. And this thread, if it is hit somewhere, every other thing will be affected. That means you have to take care of a single thing, every single thing, and that too external, which is not in your hands. It's external. Whatever you can change is within you, not external. You cannot change the external environment. This means you have planned here and you are planning for future here, keeping in view these circumstances, but planning for future, which is uncertain. Now, peeping, how much is your forecast correct depends on your exercise that you have done, scanning the environment maybe, whatever. This means that you have taken a step which you have to actually implement in future. This means that at times this dynamic environment doesn't allow you to go for that plan that you had made somewhere. No, it won't allow you because everything has changed. And your plan remains in your hand. The policies of government have changed, the taxation policies have changed, the government has changed. The world scenario has changed regarding the business. That means your plans are not working. So it may not at times work in a dynamic environment. Planning reduces creativity. What does it mean? Human resource is such a beautiful resource that at times you have people with different, ways of doing the thing. Intuitions, creativity, marvelous thinking, out of the box thinking, but you cannot do it because the plan is already made and it's in your hand. You are set that you have to do this only. You cannot change it. So it reduces your creativity. It binds you to the plan. Number 4, that at times, always, it is time consuming. Time consuming because it takes time to make plans. At times you need it immediately, but you cannot do it because it takes time to make a plan. Number 5, that it is costlier because you hire people who are professional and they charge you for that. It's not an easy thing. They will give you like that only. They charge you for that. That means being time consuming is okay, but it is costly also. And at the same time, it does not guarantee success. It does not. Having a mere plan in your hand does not mean that it's over. No, future uncertainty is there only. You never know what will happen the next moment. Yes, you have a plan which we have already seen in the importance of planning, that it can reduce the risk of uncertainties, but it cannot eliminate uncertainty. Uncertainty still is there. Having this plan in your hand does not mean that you have a guarantee in your hand that you are successful. No. Because it depends on the plan itself, how much flexible it is to incorporate change, uncertainties in the future. How much have you scanned the environment? How much research work have you done before making a plan? And still it does not guarantee any success. The next one, lack of accuracy. Say for example, you have made a plan that keeping in view that 5% inflation will be there. But in the coming times, there is no 5% inflation. There is 10% inflation. This means the whole story has changed for you now. It does not mean that you have to go with your plan. You have to make major change in that. So this means it does not guarantee accuracy also. It's not accurate at times. This was the last point in limitations. Now children, coming on to the last subtopic of this particular chapter, that is, what are the different types of plans? Now if you see, there are many types of plans, like you have an objective, a strategy, a procedure, a plan, a method, a rule, a budget. These all are types of plans. So in all, we can say that there are 2 categories of plans. One are the single use plans and the standing plans. The single which we use and we don't need them again, and standing which we can repeat use plans. So in single use, I said that we can have a program, a budget, and in standing we can have policies, procedures, methods, rules, etc. of the company. Thank you children. With that, we come to an end of this particular chapter, that is planning. See you again in the next session. Goodbye.